Hey everyone, Tony D with a little recap of last night's Democratic debate. Um, here's who I thought winners and losers. So Bloomberg was so poor on the previous debate, he actually did better in this debate, and he didn't really score too much, but he at least uh, moved up a little bit, a tiny fraction of a bit. But he still was lame. He still was awful. He still comes off as a tyrant. He still comes off as a guy in a restaurant who would fight you for the attention of the waiter, and then still complain. He's the guy who would get something for free at a restaurant, still complain, and still write a bad review of the place. Then you got Elizabeth Warren, who again went after Bloomberg, but it felt kind of like a rerun. Although she did have a little bit of new material, beyond going after Bloomberg, she didn't have much to say that she hasn't already said, and she strikes me as the wife of the guy who called over the waiter and then called over the manager, and probably did the same thing, got a free meal, and then never went back to the restaurant ever again. Pete Buttigieg, going down the row, he did okay when he talked. He didn't talk much because there was so much arguing and bickering going on. Everybody talked over the time, especially Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren just ignores the rules. But Pete Buttigieg was good. I think I figured out his deal. He is so practiced at being Obama-like, and I think that's mainly what he looked at, that he needs that cue from the moderator, Mayor Buttigieg, thank you. And then he can go into it. He can't snap it on and off. He needs a couple of seconds to get into that groove. And without it, he kind of just shuts up, which kind of worked to his advantage because everything he said was fairly solid, and he looked the best. He really should be the one going up against Trump, but you can't tell these idiots. Bernie Sanders, of course, is just a big old communist and continued to, defend his three houses, and although nobody really called him on it last night, he has no plan to pay for anything other than raising everybody's taxes through the roof. He has this idea that by pumping all this money and funneling everything through the government, it'll somehow be better. It'll just be an absolute disaster. He'll never get anything he wants passed, even if by some miracle, he got elected. And of course, Bernie Bros, he's very old. So I don't, whoever's VP is a big, big choice. He is likely to die in office if he tries to go for a second term. I mean, pretty likely. I would give it at least 30, 40%. And, who he picks will be big. I don't know who he could possibly pick for VP that is that left-leaning other than a member of the squad. And I think their ratings are so low, he'd be a fool to pick any of them. I don't know who else is. I mean, I'm sure there's some obscure congressman who agrees with his views, but if so, I haven't heard of this person. I think, as always, he's an absolute disaster in every sense of the word. His praising of Fidel Castro got called out, and rightly so. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking, deciding to praise Castro, essentially. During that interview. It was just nuts. Oh, well, they have a literacy rate. The Cubans have a very high literacy rate. Okay, how's that working out for the people, Fidel shot in the face? How's their literacy from the grave, Bernie? How's the literacy of the hundreds of thousands of Cubans that fled Cuba? I guess they were able to read the writing on the wall. That's a plus, I guess. It's hard to compare that when somebody is a dictator and shoots political dissidents. I mean, kills them, and there's plenty of bodies tied to Castro, to defend that guy. Well, it wasn't all bad. I mean, what are you going to? Who are you going to defend next? I mean, you're going to defend Gaddafi? Well, he wasn't all bad. He hired many beautiful women as his bodyguard. I mean, Gaddafi was a monster. If you're a dictator, you're a monster. I mean, I'm sure you could find a few nice things to say about Saddam Hussein, but why would you? These are the same people who chastised Trump for even talking to Kim Jong-un. And you're going to let this slide? This is the hypocrisy of inter-party relationships. Now, I'll commend Pete Buttigieg for calling him out, but he seems to only really be calling him out to score points, and he kind of did. Then you have Joe Biden, and Joe Biden, you just feel bad for the guy at this point. He bungled a speech right before the debate where he accidentally said he was running for Senate. He's such an automatic pilot. He's not even listening to himself talk. And then he said, if you don't vote for me, vote for the other Biden. What does that mean? So I think he's losing it. He's just not paying, or he's just checked out. I don't know why he's running at this point. If Biden doesn't at least win South Carolina, it's kind of over for him. Maybe he limps into Super Tuesday, but as a deal maker or kingmaker, but I doubt it. Then you have Amy Klobuchar. Amy is like everybody's mom. She's trying to be funny, and she's just not, and she shouldn't try. She's like in over her head, it feels like, and she's only good when she's defending herself from an attack. The rest of the time, it's almost like she can't initiate very well. Oh, and I skipped Elizabeth Warren. Did I skip Elizabeth Warren? Maybe I'm losing it. Elizabeth Warren, went after Bloomberg a few times and did okay. Not as good as the last one. And but generally, she just doesn't have anything else to say. She told another story about being a working mom. But the problem with that story is she apparently lied about that story too. So probably a dumb move going to that story. Maybe she just hopes everybody's forgotten by now. But, I don't understand anybody who supports Warren. I mean, really. This woman's been caught in lie after lie after lie about her personal life. That does not bode well. I mean, politicians lie, but when you're lying about your personal life, that is bad. So, like, Biden, Bloomberg, and Warren, those three, I don't know how anybody supports them. And you got Tom Steyer, who I don't know why he's there. I guess he just bought his way on stage. I don't know why he didn't buy his way on stage in the previous debate. But apparently he got back on, and nobody can figure out why he's there. He's like a progressive George W. Bush. He's just stupid. He just looks stupid. He comes off as stupid. He doesn't seem to know where he is. And then he defended capitalism, which was good, but at the same time, he was so dumb. He also said he'd double the minimum wage. Like, that kind of came out of nowhere, and everyone was like, what? Double the minimum wage from what to what? Which minimum wage are you talking about? Are you talking like $15 to $30 an hour? Because that's a huge jump, and you think $15 an hour makes your burger go up. Wait till they kick it up to $30 an hour. You're basically talking minimum wage workers making $60,000 a year. That's just crazy. And that would mean that if you make $60,000 a year, you're making minimum wage. So if you don't think, and that the money $60,000 buys will be the equivalent of a minimum wage job. That's what eventually would happen. So if you are making $60K a year and suddenly they raise those rates, guess what? As the pay that you have buys less and less and less, you're going to need more and more and more of it to continue the lifestyle you had. So the guys on a minimum wage, you're going to be brought up here, and then it's going to go weep as this goes weep. You know, like for a couple of weeks, it'll be amazing, and then it'll go weep. So it's just amazing to me that Bernie Bros think that some cockamamie scheme like that'll work. Even Bernie, I don't think um, endorsed that. Although he was like, we should all have a living wage for everybody. You know, these guys who believe that a minimum wage should pay so that somebody could raise a family of four, or you know, in a house. That's a lot of money, and you shouldn't be, you know, you shouldn't be able to raise a family of four and raise a family and buy a house from working as a cashier at McDonald's or a cashier anywhere. I mean, that's just not a job, you know, stock boy or whatever. Like, these are jobs that people start out in. I mean, people need them, but you know, you can't expect people to turn them into careers forever and live there forever. They move on. Nobody stays at those jobs. The whole point of those jobs is people take them because they're either desperate or they're too young and have no experience. That's the only two reasons. So nobody says, geez, you know, one day I'm going to aspire to be a fry cook at McDonald's and that's where I'm going to stay. No, they take the job because they need it and they can get it. Maybe they know somebody or it just happens to be nearby their house or whatever. And then they stay in that job for a while, you know, and eventually they go, I need more money, so I either got to move up or I got to get a different job. And that's what happens. So you're basically saying, oh, no, don't get another job. Stay as a fry cook for the rest of your life. That's my terrible, terrible Bernie. If you want to see more of my terrible, terrible Bernie impression, tune into my live stream during the debate. If you've got 2 hours to burn and would want to hear me do Bernie over and over again, very poorly. And it went really well, by the way. The technical issues were squared away. Joan had a good time, got many treats, and you know, we had a good time. I had more people on the feed this time than last time. Almost so many that I couldn't read all the responses, but yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I'm definitely going to do it again. So stay tuned. Ooh, excuse me. I'm going to make some more videos, talk about more things, and thanks for tuning in tonight.